delighted we are to have all of you here. Isn't this fun? This is just so wonderful and heartwarming. Thank you all very much. And I am going to be mainly in the audience because we have these two wonderful techie people who have gotten this together, Liz and Shags. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Liz, who will take us through the formal telling of the stories, and then later we'll come back and maybe we'll have a time to share with each other. We'll see how the time goes. But anyway, thank you all so very much for coming, keeping tell spinners out there. Yay, thank you.
Yay.
Okay, Liz, you go.
Okay, well, so first of all, we're just adding to what Sally said, just so thrilled that everybody's joining us. And we miss being together. I think we all some people are here who've never come to our swap. They were physically unable to come to our swap or because they lived far away or just didn't fit their schedule, normal life. So that's so exciting. But for those of us who have been coming, I know that all of you are, in addition to me, we're gonna miss Sally's biscotti and other wonderful treats that we always get when we come. But I think one of the things about this era is we have to focus on what we can do and what we're getting to do and not what we miss. And that's so wonderful about tonight. So one of the things that we're gonna change, as Sally said, is that we're gonna have our swap first and then our social time after.
Oh, excuse me.
So we're gonna mute.
Local historian.
There,
you know who did it, don't you?
So someone is not.
I think it was Sally.
Oh, okay. We're going to practice muting and unmuting ourselves. Hi, Tyler. Because, I don't know if that's someone trying to, I'm going to, it's from Syracuse, New York. Somebody, put it in chat if you're expecting someone to join us from Syracuse, New York, or who has a Syracuse telephone.
I'm still monitoring the admissions. So
okay, but we thought it would be fun if we could actually applaud for all of our storytellers after they tell their story, like we usually do. Mm-hmm. But we are going to mute ourselves while they're speaking. So in order to make that work, Shags, I know you can unmute and mute everybody if you're willing to do that.
I can.
But I think it would be really, yeah, so.
I also have this that I use in our Rotary meetings.
But we're gonna try to really clap. So I'd like everybody to go to take your pointer and point it at the top right corner of your box.
And I'll unmute everybody when the teller finishes.
Okay. The thing is that obviously we also have to have the teller unmuted. So, but I think we're going to be able to do that. Okay. So,
everyone will be muted.
Okay. So right now, everyone except Shags and I are muted. So Shags, could you unmute everybody?
And Sally. Unmute all.
Okay. You can keep yourself, and let's applaud.
Yeah.
Hey, Liz, this is Agnes. Can you have blocked my video?
Oh. Let me send you a message to share your video.
Who is that?
It won't let me share because it says that you have blocked it.
Agnes.
The host has, oh, now I guess I'm good. I'm here. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Can I ask, because I don't see my picture, I'm Jeannie, or a number of other people.
Yeah, hi Jeannie.
John? Start my video?
Start video.
There she is. Oh, it's Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, Agnes. Hi, you all.
Susan.
How are you?
Lovely.
Oh, gosh, now it went away.
You know what? I'm hearing some
How
background
did-
sounds somehow.
I had
Yeah,
things up.
we probably should mute ourselves.
Let's mute everybody.
background comes
Jax,
in.
could you mute everybody again?
I
except
will, but then I've
for
got to
you
unmute
and
those
me?
you need unmuted.
And what I
So now,
is,
Let's get out of
mute
that.
all,
Maybe we might not.
unmute Liz, unmute Sally, unmute me.
All right. So you are all muted now. And we're going to keep it that way. And then at the end, after our swap tellers go, we will have a chance for us all to talk. Two things before we get started. I suggest that you use speaker view. Again, at the top right of the black box, you could see a grid. If you use grid with all these little boxes, then you see everybody. But while we're hearing from a storyteller, you probably want to use speaker view. You just click on those grid of boxes and you toggle back and forth so that you can see, right, if you're in speaker view, you should see me big because I'm speaking. So, okay.
Oh,
So it's really a good idea to mute yourself. So let's see, Sally, I'm going to mute you right now.
Yeah, Sally, if that's my wife, I'm with you.
Yeah. So I muted Sally. Okay. So here we go. Oh, I have one other thing I'm sorry that I need to say is that, and then I'm going to mute myself because there's a message here and it could be about this, but I'm going to introduce each storyteller and then for the storytellers, I'm going to time you at 2 minutes until the time that you told me your story would take. So let's say you said your story was 10 minutes. When it's 8 minutes, you should hear that sound. And that should give you just I hope you hear that, that to wrap up so that I don't have to break in and say something, okay? So our first storyteller is our featured storyteller we were gonna have back in March, I guess, when we didn't have, we had a phone conference swap, but, and that is Levon Taft. And she's not going to do the whole 20, 25 minutes that we usually have our featured teller do because for Zoom meetings, we want to keep it a little shorter and we thank her for being flexible about that. And so, but I do want to give her a special introduction. She's a native Californian. She grew up in the San Fernando Valley and she's been telling stories since she was a little girl on the playground. But then she was an audiologist for Kaiser for her career. But since she's retired, through StageBridge, she has rediscovered storytelling. She is a graduate of StageBridge's EPIC program. And go ahead and raise your hand. I know we have quite a few others in the group here and it's such an awesome program. So without further ado, let's hear from Levon Taft. So Shags, could you unmute Levon? And
Hello, can you hear me? Good. Well, this is a new adventure, isn't it? I have never liked sports very much. No, I really hate sports. I could say it's because the athletes make too much money or the leagues don't honor their fans like they should. But in reality, my aversion to sports started early. At 7 years old, I was kicked out of ballet class. Who gets kicked out of ballet class at that tender age? Well, I did. And why? Because out of the corner of my eye, I was watching a movie when I should have been playing. And then there was playing dodgeball in the street with the neighborhood kids. I could neither dodge or catch the ball. And even riding a bicycle ended up with a full frontal collision with a curb, hurling my body over the handlebars and then ending in a faceplant on the concrete sidewalk. My poor face. And my athletic bad karma extended to my family. I went to my older brother's Little League game. I climbed to the top of the bleachers and promptly fall through the slats some 20 feet to the dirt below, almost breaking my little neck. Well, my dad comes and scoops me up. That ended the game, and my brother never let me forget it. So needless to say, I avoid sports at all costs, especially at school. And, it was easy to do. A simple parental note would usually excuse me from having to participate in school sports. But in high school in the late 1960s, the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports meant that nothing short of a physician's letter would exempt me from having to participate in sports at school. So began the search with my BFF, best friend forever, Nancy, whose aversion to sports equals mine, to find the least sporty sport to fulfill the requirement at school. Okay, here's the list of the physical ed offerings at school. It's on the wall here. Let's look. Running and track. Oh, that is so very out. Softball. I did that once, and the softball came crashing onto my chest, knocking the wind out of me. All because I didn't catch the ball. So that's got to be out too. Well, what about tumbling then? Well, I get dizzy when I try to do a somersault. And my hair, it got caught under my knees when I tried. It was embarrassing. That's got to be out too. Well, all of the sports offerings are just wrong. They're too difficult. We'll get too hot. We'll get too sweaty. And, sweat does a thing to my hair. So what are we going to do, Levon? Well, let's keep looking. There's a new offering. The bottom of the list. Tennis. Eureka. How bad can that be? You just racket a ball over a net. We can handle that, right, Nancy? I guess. Hey, we're at our first day in class. Tennis. Oh, there's Miss Kierson. She's kind of old for a tennis teacher. She's got to be 45 or 50. And that steely gray hair, she looks really pissed off too. Well, no wonder. She has that tennis dress stretched over her body like so much saran wrap. And she's squinting. She forget her glasses? She's kind of blind as a bat. She's taking rolls. Stand up straight. Lavoni Anderson. Here, it's Levon, Nancy Taylor. Here. All right, you girls, get in your tennis clothes. I want you to start practicing the strokes and the positions that I have just instructed you on. Well, She spends the next 2 hours watching Nancy and I chase the tennis ball around the court. We had problems. Practice, 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 girls. I hate this class. Why don't we start being tardy and work up to cutting class? Huh? And we did. For weeks, we were either really tardy or cut class altogether. Oh, you know what, Lavon? This is really working. She doesn't seem to notice we're not in her class. Huh? Except for now. Miss Kirsten, she sees us. And that's a surprise because she's blind as a bat. You and you, get in your tennis clothes, get your rackets, get out to the court and practice the strokes and play a game. I have to supervise the rest of the class in the locker room, so get with it. All right, we're dressed, got our rackets. Let's start that long walk out to the court. Oh no, we don't have a ball. No tennis ball. Well, I'm not walking back. Let's play without one. And we did. We demonstrated the most beautiful serves, ground strokes, backstrokes with awesome beauty and strength. We played the longest, most elegant rallies and volleys. We were amazing. Oh, that was fun. Oh, but I'm tired now, aren't you? Let's head back. There's Miss Kirsten. She must have been watching us. And that's a surprise because she's blind as a bat. Why is she running? Oh, Nancy, oh God. I think we're in trouble. Girls, girls, girls. I've been watching you. I've never seen a game better played. I have my eye on you two. You should be on the Reseda girls tennis team. Miss Kirsten, we've been practicing.
Great.
Bravo, bravo.
Oh, look, Colleen put up there's something you can do. Down at the bottom, there's reactions all the way on the right, and she put a clap or a thumbs up. So that's a fun thing. Put a clap up, yes. All right.
You too.
Okay, I'm muting everybody again. Muting all.
Mute, unmute, as I did a group unmute.
And,
Yeah, Sally said the TV's on in the background, so she muted again. That was outstanding.
That was wonderful.
Truly wonderful.
What a great start. We had, I had a note, I'm looking in the chat, and Linda Wright, you had something, a tip, I think, for all our storytellers. If it's a quick tip, Shags, could you unmute Linda Wright? Because we want to hear, certainly enjoy everyone just as well. Lavon did a great job, and I know we talked ahead of time about, she practiced with her lighting and everything and positioning, and yeah. So I don't see you, Linda, but.
Oh, I'm here.
There you are, there you are, yes.
The thing that we learned in Joel Benezi's class yesterday, excuse me,
is to look at the camera if you're a teller and not at the screen. So find your camera either at the top of your iPad or on the side of your iPad or the top. So you look like you're talking to the people rather than, otherwise we see you as if you're looking at the at your keyboard.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah, I mean, you did fine, Levon, because your eyes seem to be up anyway. But
yeah, I don't think that applied to Levon. I think she was great, but it's good advice for the rest of us.
Right, because like when you just spoke, Tim, you were off to the side. You weren't looking at your camera.
Yeah.
And I think I'm looking at the screen. Yeah. And,
yes,
and my camera is up high here. If I'm pointing at my camera, whereas I'm usually looking down here. So thank you, Linda. All right.
And tilt your camera down too. Tilt your camera.
Yes, another advice I've been given is have your screen, if you're on a laptop like me that can go like this,
yes,
to have it straight up and down and then position yourself. That's a recommendation. You look less distorted. So, all right. So these are tips we can try.
Not too many fast movements because some people's computers will freeze.
All right.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
these are all things, we may or may not remember while we're telling.
Because mine didn't have any of those problems. So.
But Levon was a great role model to start us off. Thank
you.
All right, let's mute everyone now, except we're going to hear next from Jean Pimentel. And her story is called Fun and Fear in World War II London. So I can't wait to hear it. So we need.
I've unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Hi, Jean.
Hi.
So I recommend to everyone to do speaker view so you can see Jean real well.
Can you unmute her?
No, we can't hear. Unmute myself. Now can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, and I've spotlighted your video.
You can't see me?
I've spotlighted your video, so you should be center screen for everyone.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You're
all right.
welcome.
Okay. So I couldn't help thinking about my experiences in another war. And so I was born in London, England, at a time when England, with its empire, was still the most important, most powerful country in the world. And my family was poor. We were working class, but we still had that confidence of being British and powerful. Well, that confidence was shaken when I was 4 years old. I remember standing in the living room, a tiny little living room where the whole family had gathered to listen to a speech on the radio. The government representative, we called him Lord Haw Haw. He was the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the formal representative. And we called him Lord Haw Haw because of his sonorous middle upper class voice. And he said, "Britain is at war." And I could tell from the expression on my parents' face that this was important, although I didn't understand. That was September 1939. And Britain, the Germans at that time were obviously overrunning, they were trying to overrun the whole of Europe. And it became quite obvious that if they got to France, got control of France, they would invade England. Now, England is not a part of the mainland of Europe. It's an island, But that channel that separates us is only about 20 miles wide, about from Orinda to the Golden Gate Bridge. And nowadays, unlike our last invasion, which was about 900 years ago, this enemy had planes. And we knew that they would bomb London and bring us to our knees and come over the sea and just overrun us. So this was very serious. Well, London, of course, would be the target of their bombing. And so almost immediately, the government said, besides mobilizing all men, all women and children had to be evacuated to somewhere safer. And if you had somewhere friends or relatives who lived in the country, you could go there. But otherwise, the government would find you someplace. And we were told we had to leave. And I can remember sitting in our tiny little living room, now completely bare, waiting for the van to come, sitting on a packing box. And the van was very late. And my brothers and I were hungry. And Mummy said, all I've got is a bit of bread and a bar of chocolate. So that's what we had for our last meal in our happy home. From then on, life became an adventure. So my father was sent to, he was a motor mechanic, and he was sent to Cambridge because there were airfields there, RAF airfields, and he could work there. So we were sent to Cambridge, but the government couldn't find necessarily housing for families, and so my mother and I were in one house with the Johnsons, and my two elder brothers, who were only 9 and 12, they were in a different house down the street with Mrs. Baker. And I remember meeting during the day to talk, and my brother Reg would say, oh, I'm so tired of mashed potatoes. Every day it's mashed potatoes. I recalled later my wonderful, resourceful mother. Even though we were poor and she didn't have much, she would always vary things. Sometimes those potatoes were mashed or boiled or baked, or my favorite was chips, of course. And so the van was, when we got to Cambridge, I didn't know anything about Cambridge. It meant nothing to me at 4 years old that there was a world famous university there. But I do remember going for walks with my mother, and Mummy and I would walk along what's called the backs, where the lovely grounds where the colleges backed onto the River Cam. We would walk there, and sometimes at Christmas, I remember hearing this beautiful music floating down from those fairy tale stone buildings. And I realized later that was probably the famous King's College Boys Choir singing carols. And then spring came, and the backs were just ablaze with daffodils. And my brother and I went fishing in the Cam with our jam jar and our homemade fishing net. We were fishing for tiddlers. They're tiny little things like guppies with our jam jar. So after a while, we were able to move into a flat where we could all be together. And even my father could come and visit on his days off. And one day, we were coming back from a little outing, and on the doorstep, we saw a pigeon. And it was just lying there. It didn't seem to be injured, just very weak. So we scooped it up, took it inside, gave it some breadcrumbs and water, and made a little bed for it with an old towel on the nice warm stove. In the morning, the pigeon was quite perky and obviously wanting to fly. So we took it back and put it down where we found it, and off it flew. We realized that was what you call a passenger pigeon. We called a carrier pigeon. It was used, they were used at that time still to carry messages, important war messages. A little note would be tucked into the ring on the the band on the pigeon's leg, and off they would fly. So this pigeon didn't have any message in its ring, but so maybe it was on its way home and just exhausted after the return trip to France and back. So off it went, and we went back into the house, and there on its little bed was an egg. Well, I, as a child, thought, this is the way of the pigeon saying thank you to us. But my mother, she just scooped it up and went and fried it for my father for breakfast. Oh, what a treat during the time of rationing. Well, the dreaded invasion didn't come for months. And however, my grandmother lived just on the outskirts of London. And she was lonely and afraid. And she persuaded us to go back and live with her. And we did. And that was how I spent the time of the famous Blitz of 1940 and 41 in London, or yards from the limit of London. So it was pretty active. Because it was not right at the in the center. Fortunately, we didn't ever get bombed out or injured or anything, and we didn't lose anyone very close to us. But even in Enfield, stray bombs would sometimes fall, and we'd hear this thud, and the ground would shake, and the windows would rattle and sometimes break. And sometimes we would go into London. It was only about 10 miles to the center of London, and there we would see the devastation. There was so much damage from the invasion. Great swaths of London were just leveled. And we would see a whole block, nothing but rubble, with maybe some smoke coming up from the rubble. So for my brothers and I, it was life was an action-packed adventure. During the day, our days were always punctuated by air raid sirens. You'd hear this. That was sign there was enemy action, there was danger. And we had to rush for the shelters, the underground shelters that had been built in almost every neighborhood, even on the outskirts there. And to stay there until we heard the all clear siren. That single note, it just sounded like a sigh of relief. Well, of course, for us kids, we thought it was kind of fun to be disrupted, especially at school, have our lessons disrupted. And when we heard the siren, we would all have to grab our gas masks. You know, we all had to carry these gas masks every day, the books and the blanket, and dive down into the shelters. And those poor teachers would try to educate these kids who were unruly and unsettled. And I don't know how we got an education, but somehow we did.
Jean.
Yes.
I think that was our all clear siren that my phone just went off. But this is part one. This is part one of the saga. We need to hear.
I'm confused.
I'm saying that your time
is up.
I don't know why I'm
Trying to give other people.
My time is up. Oh my God. I'm very, very wrong.
Okay. Now everyone is muted, including Eugene, except for me. You took us, we were all, in another world and another time. And let's unmute everyone and give a huge applause and say that we want to hear more.
I couldn't unmute everyone. Feedback, so I had to mute everyone.
Just we want to make sure everybody who signed up gets a chance to tell. So please, please, Jean, come and tell us more next
Well,
week.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm wrong here. Also, I was thinking when I heard that shot, the warning, I would go to the very last bit, which is the most exciting, but I'll have to save that for next time.
Yes,
It's
do.
a cliffhanger. It's always good. Always leave them wanting more. All right.
It's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. We need that perspective. It's very important. All right, our next storyteller is Ginger Parnes. And Ginger has a story called Wonderful, Wonderful Copenhagen.
I think Shag still has Jean's video spotlighted.
Okay, so Shags, we're going to take a minute. Yeah, so Ginger, get yourself ready while we do the muting and unmuting. And okay, let's get you on the spotlight. Shags, can you do that?
Ginger sings with the Berkeley Broadway.
Everybody needs to mute themselves because there are so many here. If I mute everybody, then I got to really search for those to unmute.
To mute yourself, everyone, you put your cursor to the top right side and click mute.
We should do that?
Yes, let's have everybody do that, except of course for Ginger. And as I'll turn mine to mute in just a moment. Thanks for your patience, Ginger.
Okay, Ginger, you and I and Liz are unmuted.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute myself but I am going to set this, and you heard what that sound is. I'll set it for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are you ready? We're ready to hear a great story from Ginger.
I've got one.
Take it away.
I'm 24 years old. I've just left Atlanta, Georgia, where I'd been teaching school for a few years, and I moved back to Miami, Florida, where I grew up. My friend Linda has sublet me her apartment near Coconut Grove, and I land a really great job. I've been hired by Jordan Marsh, Florida, which is an upscale department store chain. I have been enrolled in the executive training program. I'm going to be learning about fashion and the business of fashion. There's about a dozen of us in the group, and we're going to be together for months. Some of us will go on to be buyers. Some of us will become floor managers or go into HR. We become very close during this time, and it's really a lot of fun in and out of the work environment. One day I come into work and there's a tizzy. The women are all like in a frizzy. I don't know how to explain it. What's going on? Well, the president of Jordan Marsh has hired an executive assistant, and it's a guy from Sweden. They say he's so handsome and so nice, and I'm not sure about that, but I finally get to meet him, and he's like a Nordic god. He's tall, curly brown hair, twinkling eyes, and a smile that tells you he is really enjoying all this attention. Well, he quickly becomes part of our group. And we go to parties, all of us together, beach parties, clubs. It's a lot of fun. Well, one night at one of the beach parties, Arn and I go for a walk, and we start making out. He asks me to be his girlfriend. Yeah, of course, I said yes. And we became a couple. Arn moves in with me. We get up in the morning, we drink coffee, and we commute down South Dixie Highway to our job, maybe even smoking a cigarette or two. We are having the best time. And then the news comes that his visa is up. It's decided Arn will go back to Stockholm and I will follow soon thereafter. I make my plans. I fly through London with a layover for a couple days, and then I'm going on to Copenhagen and then on to Stockholm. I'm in the guest house of a beautiful place in London, and I'm on the payphone. Hi, Arn. Oh, I am so excited to see you. What do you mean you've changed your mind? Arn, I gave up my job, sold my car, gave up the apartment, and you're telling me this? When did you decide this? Oh, no. It's none of your business what I'm going to do. I don't want to ever have anything to do with you again. I can't believe it. Goodbye. I'm deflated. I'm hurt. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to go back to Miami. Well, I've got a flight to Copenhagen tomorrow. I might as well just go there and let's see what happens. Wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen. That's a song from a movie called Hans Christian Andersen. Danny Kaye plays the author who wrote so many wonderful stories. Thumbelina, The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling. I'm feeling a little bit like an ugly duckling myself. But soon the spirit of this city takes over. The people are out there, they're beautiful, they're smiling. After all, they've been inside all winter in the dark, and it's springtime in Copenhagen. Well, I clearly stand out as a lost tourist. I've got a yellow and purple granny dress on, I got a map, I don't know what I'm doing. People come up and ask me, can I help you? They all speak English. Oh, good, because I know no Danish. They learn this from the very beginning of their first grade schooling. So I feel pretty good about that. They suggest that I go to this walking street called the Strøget. So I go there. I wander into a Marimekko shop. Oh my God, the fabrics, the colors are so beautiful. I buy myself some pillow covers that I'll be able to fit in my suitcase when I go home. Then I wander into the Rosenthal China shop. It was called Rosenthal Studio House. Now, Rosenthal was a manufacturer in Germany of very fine china, and many brides across the world register for Rosenthal china patterns when they get married. But that's not all they had. Beautiful crystal. They had Bjorn Windblad sculptures, and talk about Dansk stainless steel. There was so much of it. I ended up talking to the clerk there, Uta, for quite a while. About an hour I was there. She tells me that last year they had an American girl who worked in the store, and she practically pushes me into Herr Netterstrom's office. Good day, hello, Tusen Tag, hello, I know you speak English. My name is Ginger Parnes, and I've been working in retailing in the United States, and I heard that last year you had an American girl work here. What do you think about this year hiring me? He hires me on the spot. I go back the next day, he's arranged a visa for me, and he's found me a place to live. Ries Hospitalet Collegium. Okay, I don't speak Danish, but I figure out Hospitalet, hospital, Collegium, college. It turns out I'm moving into a dormitory, a 5-story dormitory filled with international and Danish med students and nurses. This could be a lot of fun. I go into my little room, and I've got my own bathroom and my own shower and a fold-out bed. I start fixing it up and putting out my Marimekko pillow coverings and have the radio on. The music's great. I don't understand a word of Danish in all the commentary, but I keep saying I don't need to learn Danish because everyone speaks English, at least the people I know. So I'm going to go exploring. I go up to the roof, and there's this big area with chairs and tables and people drinking beer and people sunbathing. Oh, that woman's topless. All right, this is Denmark. I guess I'm gonna have to get used to it. Then I find what I'm really looking for, the sauna. Now, I've never been in a sauna, except if you count when I get out of my air-conditioned car in 90-degree heat, hits me in the face. I look at the hours. Females, I figure, men of that, males, I guess that's males. So I decide, and I make a note of when to come back after I get used to my job. So every day I go to my job, I walk down the street and there's 5 bakeries on every block. Of course I stop, I buy these fabulous smelling Danish bakeries. And they are so delicious. You know, they're called Danish. I have learned some words. I've learned the word øl, beer, ost, cheese. I've also learned Lars, Klaus, Ulrich. Flirting with the Danish men has made me really forget about Arn. Well, it's time for me to try this on. I come back from work one day and here it's my day. Now, one of the nurses told me that it's clothing optional. I'm in Denmark, why not? Put on my robe and I go down to the sauna. There's a man in here! Oh, no, oh, excuse me, doctor, good day. What are you doing in here? Hi, I'm Michael Abramowitz. I'm a med student from New York. It's bad enough there's a man in here, but it's an American guy. I said, what are you doing in here? Phalas, it says phalas, females. Oh, you got it wrong, girlie. Phalas means together. Welcome to Copenhagen. The next morning, I register for Danish classes.
Bravo.
Bravo. Ourselves.
Very nice.
Thank you so much, Ginger. That was armchair travel. That's really, really great at this time to be able to use our imaginations to go across the Atlantic. Twice we've gone already, twice. Back in time and across the world. We have 3 more storytellers, and I am thinking that maybe we should take a little break for both, maybe just to stand up and stretch, but I'm speaking for myself. I could use a little break.
It's called a bio break, Liz.
A bio break. Thank you. I did. Thank you. I didn't quite. So Tyler is going to be next storyteller. But what do you?
Let's see. When did he last use the commode?
Allie, is that okay with you?
Before dinner.
That's when he
And
did it.
dinner
That's when he
was
did-
early.
And that's when he did his bowel movement.
So this would probably be.
Allie?
What?
Allie, you're our hostess and you're unmuted. Shall we take a short bio break? Or else we can just have people, you just have to take it when you need it. What do you think?
I think that's
Sarah?
better. I think that's better.
Let people do it when they need it.
In the background. Stop your mute. Mute yourself if you're muttering in the background.
All right.
This thing can just move anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so we will take our own breaks. It'll motivate you to be quick so that you don't miss more than a moment of, you don't have as far to go, hopefully, as when we're in the library, just down your hallway.
Whoa.
Okay, so let's get ready for our next storyteller then. So we need, I might go and mute everyone and then I'm going to mute everyone and unmute Tyler, okay? Just to save time here. So I'm going to mute all.
I'm loving these stories.
All right, and Tyler, you can unmute yourself or I will unmute you.
No, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So Shags, can you spotlight Tyler, please?
Let me find him.
Okay. Are we good?
I don't see you yet, Tyler.
Okay. If you have speaker view and I start.
Yeah,
speaking, you
I'll
might see
choose
me.
speaker view and then, no, there, now I
Okay.
see you. All right. Okay.
Okay,
Let's
I'm going to
welcome up Tyler with the Emperor's Painting Contest.
taking Linda's advice, looking right into the camera, which is hard because I'm not seeing any of your beautiful smiling faces. But I will say I'm so grateful to be with you guys. Thanks, Liz and Sally, for pulling us together, and the magic of the flying electrons, that we can all actually have some semblance of connection. And you're all challenged, perhaps more than any other teller tonight, to completely lose yourself from reality and ignore the incredibly messy room behind you, which happens to be the room in the house with the most privacy. So the price for that is a lot of stuff. And I don't have the computer capacity to have a beautiful background like some of you do. So we're going to try to transport ourselves back to ancient China. And in those years, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there was an emperor who had everything. He had the most delicious, amazing delicacies at his table every meal. He had the most gorgeous clothes. He lived in an incredible palace surrounded by acres of perfect manicured gardens that he could stroll in to his heart's delight. He had a court filled with beautiful women, interesting men who challenged him to philosophical duels and conversations. He had, in short, absolutely everything, and the love of his empire. And yet, he wasn't satisfied. There was something missing. He didn't feel like he had a real understanding of what life was about, a real key to thriving in the world. It was really a spiritual question that he was searching for, not a material one. And as much abundance and beauty as he had around him, he wasn't satisfied. And of course, in this court were hundreds of philosophers and scholars, even magicians, even storytellers. And he listened to all of them, talked to them about their philosophies. Many of them were proud, and they would flatter him with beautiful words, obviously trying to elevate their own social position in the court. He soon began to realize that much of what he was hearing was meaningless. And he discounted a lot of these different groups that were telling him the way that life should be experienced and understood, until he finally came down to two groups of philosophers that seemed to really have something going: the Confucians and the Taoists. Now, the Confucians were a proud, almost haughty lot. They wore absolutely impeccable clothing, perfect silk robes, their long mustaches groomed every morning. And they did not flatter him with oily words. No, they told him what they thought of him, told him what flaws he had in his character, and they assured him that success, that happiness as an emperor came from the traditions, the old ways. If he would venerate the ancestors, if he would do the proper rituals in the court, if he would just go back to the way things had been in the ancient times and keep everything ordered and perfect and beautiful, then he would understand the secret of life. Now, the Taoists were a pretty different lot. They wore raggedy clothes. They sat around most of the day arguing with each other or reciting poetry, winking at the women walking by, drinking wine even. They were a pretty unruly lot, and yet somehow they had something that the emperor could sense, some kind of an understanding about life that gave them a contentment, a peace, a joy in every moment that he could see just watching them. It was also said that they had tremendous power over the elements, over the various forms of life around them, in fact, even life itself, and that they maybe even had the secret of eternal life. So the emperor watched these funny Taoists from time to time and respected them, and finally he came to them and said, "Is it true? Do you have some kind of secret to life, to happiness, to fulfillment?" "Oh, well, no, Your Majesty." The Taoists were very humble. They simply told him, "There really isn't any great philosophy. We just do know one particular, very important secret." Oh, you do? So there is a secret. Yes, said the emperor. Tell me what it is." Your Majesty, I'm so sorry, they said. It really isn't something that's very easy to tell you, but we could show you. Oh, well, I guess that's all right, said the emperor. How would you show me? And so they explained to the emperor the idea of having a contest, actually an art contest, oddly. And when they explained the whole thing to him, he thought, well, that's pretty strange, but I do understand that the Confucians have something that seems to be valid, that sort of pulls to me, and you seem to have something else. So maybe this contest of yours is the way to really bring it out, is the way to really show what it is that each of you is trying to tell me. So let's do it. And so, following the instructions that the Taoists gave him, he took everyone down to a large room in one of the lower levels of the palace. It was an empty room. Everything had been cleared out. The walls were completely blank, plaster walls. And they drew a long curtain down the middle of the room. Put all the Confucians on one side, all the Taoists on the other side of the curtain. And it was said that they would begin a contest to create a great work of art. The Confucians on the wall of their side of the room, the Taoists on their wall. And the emperor would judge at the end of the contest which of the murals, essentially, which of the paintings on these walls most spoke to him, most illustrated these deep and abiding philosophical concepts. He thought the whole thing was a little odd, but he went along with it because the Taoists were quite convinced that they could impress him. And so immediately the Confucians ordered every single color that there was in the royal storerooms. And they began to work on their mural. Beautiful colors, long brush strokes, incredible subtleties of shading. And day after day, the Confucians would work on this mural on the huge wall. Now, on the other side of the curtain, every time the emperor peeked in, the Taoists were lounging around, drinking wine, laughing, and yet they had cloths. They had ordered the softest cloths in the empire, and every day they were polishing the wall with these cloths over and over again, rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. It was very curious, but the emperor thought, well, we'll see what happens. And so some weeks went by, and it was time for the final decision. The emperor and his court came down into this room, and they went first to the Confucian side. And the emperor stood back and he looked at the wall, and it was incredible. They had created a mural. It was a vista of his kingdom, a gorgeous panorama with majestic mountains, cloud-capped, rising in the distance. His city there at the foot of the mountains with his golden palace rising in the midst of it, the rays of the setting sun illuminating the palace, shining like a light within a light. And there he was, the emperor himself, astride his war horse in front of the palace, ready to ride forth in victory. And in front of him, the river flowed along the bottom of this scene, little waves drawn cleverly, the shadows of birds flying over. It was truly an absolute marvel. The emperor couldn't imagine how the Taoists could have improved on that. And so he went over onto their side of the room. And what did he find? They were lying around drinking wine, polishing the walls, and as he came in the room, they did the last little bit of polishing and stood back and said, there, we have finished. There was nothing there. There was a blank wall. Now, true, it was rather shiny from all this polishing, but there was nothing on it. What do you mean by this, said the emperor? You can't possibly think that this is a work of art. There's nothing here. All you've ever done is sit around and polish the wall. We're so sorry, Your Majesty. Allow us to demonstrate. Would you please draw back the curtain? And so the emperor had the curtain pulled back, and he looked again across the room at that magnificent mural created by the Confucians. How did they get my chin so perfectly? How regal and noble I look. It would be impossible for these idiot Taoists to ever do anything better than that. And he turned and looked at the Taoist side, and he was astounded. Because now, with the curtain pulled back, was not a blank wall. It was a reflection. It was a reflection of the Confucians painting, and yet somehow something had happened in that shimmering, polished wall. The art reflected from the other side of the room took on a life of its own. It seemed to breathe and move. There were 3 dimensions to every layer of the scene. The trees seemed to sway in the breeze. He could see the little wavelets on the river. He could even perhaps see the nostrils of his war horse moving as it breathed. It was the most stunning thing he had ever seen. An absolute living portrait. The emperor was astounded, and he turned to the Taoists. He said, "What have you done?" "Your Majesty," they answered with some humbleness, "what we really did was reflect what was already there. What we did was we illustrated our principle called Wu Wei, or non-action, in which we simply made things ready to receive what is already there. We didn't strive to create something. We opened ourselves to what already is. This is how we live our lives. We don't push. We don't try to achieve. We simply flow along with life." They turned to the Confucians. They said, "Our friends, we are honored. Your painting is quite beautiful, and you have worked very long and hard on it. But our painting, which is yours in reflection, illustrates this principle, the principle of inaction, of Wu Wei, of flow." The emperor was completely won over, and it was said to the end of his days that he tried to adhere to this principle of non-striving, non-pushing, of flowing, of moving along with the ease that the universe brings when we receive it, when we are gentle, when we are open. And finally, at the end of his life, as it is prophesied of all true emperors, he rose to heaven on the back of a dragon and became an immortal. Thank you.
Okay, and I muted everybody, so let's clap. Woo! All right.
Great.
Thank you.
That was great. That was great.
You've painted so many pictures in our imagination.
Good.
Truly, you did.
Really nice.
Are you done with the stool?
Thank you. Wow. Okay, let's take a breath. And sigh it out. Oh. We're getting fuller and fuller stories. But we have 2 more wonderful storytellers to come. So our next storyteller is, okay, so I'm gonna mute everybody. If I can, let's see, mute all.
Can you guys hear me?
So I think that Claire and I should be the only ones who can be heard right now. Claire, is that you?
That's me. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now just wait a minute. I can hear you, but the spotlight is still pinned. Okay. Does everybody see? I hope everybody sees Claire now. Thank you, Shags, for spotlighting Claire.
Yeah, give me.
All right, so let's all welcome up Claire Castell. Please tell us a story, Claire.
Well, it's the COVID-19. The year is 2020, and we're being told to stay inside, sequester, wear masks, all kinds of cautions. And so I'm stuck in the house, and I try to do everything I can to stay busy. And for a while, it's just fine. I clean my refrigerator, I clean the freezer, I clean my junk drawer, I make masks, and I even painted my living room. I stayed busy. But finally, it was time to get down to the chore that I'd been procrastinating on, which was to go to Ancestry.com and start to fill in some blanks. Now, I got out my records, my papers, I spread them out, my birth certificate, and I had a lot of blanks because my parents died when we were young, my twin sister and I, Carol, and my father had no siblings. My mother had 4 brothers, but they all disappeared after she died. So for nearly half my life, my family has been my sister and I really want family. Now, finally, I grow up and I'm in my 20s and I get married. I'm in my early 20s and I have a son. So boom, my family has expanded. And this is great. And the appeal of my husband was that he had an enormous family. He had 4 brothers and he had parents and he had grandparents and uncles and aunts. Really, again, I always wanted a big family. But picture our wedding. On the groom's side, my husband's big family, the people from the church that they all knew. There was also, my father-in-law was a man about town, so he knew a lot of people. So there's like 100 people on the groom's side. The bride's side, not so much. I had about 10 people on my side. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, I love my ex-husband's family. They were wonderful, and I'm glad that they embraced me and they took me in. And we had, for nearly 30 years, even after we divorced, we had all of our family holiday celebrations with his family. And I remember looking around at the big Thanksgiving table at all this family of my husband's and kind of being very happy to be included, but I also had a little bit of sadness that there was really nobody from my line, my sister, my son, but truthfully, I just didn't have a line. Well, then my son grows up. He gets married and he has 2 daughters. So now we have a family line. We have 6 people. And I've since divorced, but I have my ex-husband and this family at my house for Thanksgiving every year. And I love this. I really love this. This is the best day of the year for me, is this Thanksgiving and being with my family. Well, anyway, I get back to my Ancestry webpage with some hope, because 6 months ago, I found 3 cousins through DNA matching. This was wonderful, and they're from the South, each, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and they're actually kind of fun. We've been talking on email. We have a running joke about Southern cooking and possum stew recipe and other unspeakable recipes. And we were planning to get together again, before the pandemic. But this day, I log in and I have a memo from a woman named Joan. And she's done some DNA testing too. And it looks like she's matched in DNA to me and my cousin Patty, who's one of the cousins from the South. And I talked to Patty, nobody's heard of her, but I write back and say, oh, well, here's what I know about the family. This family is the Kirk family on my mother's side. And we still don't know where she came from. Patty and I have a side conversation and say, well, she must be the illegitimate child of one of my mother's brothers. Maybe, no, it couldn't be John, because so religious and devoted to his wife, it wouldn't be Uncle John. And it wouldn't be Uncle Bill because he was the gay uncle, so that probably didn't happen. Oh, you know what? It could be Uncle Paul. He had 10 kids, so we know he was really fertile. So he could have had an early mistake. And this goes on for a day. And then we say, oh, no, it must be Uncle Bob because he was a real scoundrel and a ladies' man. I bet you this was Uncle Bob. So we're trying to figure out who she's related to, her parentage. So that night, at 9 o'clock at night, I go into the ancestry section about DNA matching. Joan and I match 1,700 centimorgans. Now, I know I've never heard of that word before either, but it's a measurement of DNA. 1,700. Now, my cousin Patty and I match by only 900 centimorgans, which is in the normal range for cousins. So that seems strange. But the next day, Joan sends another letter talking about her adoption. She was born 2 years before my twin sister and I, and she was adopted at 3 days old. And she says, you know, my parents couldn't use regular adoption because of health problems, so they had a private adoption. A Dr. Kaufman was a family friend who lived in Chicago who made the arrangements. So I go, wait a minute, this rings a bell. And I'm going through my papers, here's my birth certificate. I look on it, and my birth certificate says, Dr. Jerome Kaufman, attending physician. Dr. Kaufman was my mother's doctor who delivered my sister and I. And so we realized that Joan is my half-sister. She's my mother's love child from an earlier relationship. And I'm thrilled. I got more family. I got a lot more family. Well, that isn't even the best part. I mean, that's really good, but she connects with the cousins. Remember I mentioned the uncle with 10 kids? Well, she tracked them down. And soon, within the week, I was talking to all these other cousins. There's Brian and James and Catherine and Christopher, and they all have kids. So in the span of a week or two, I went from my little family, which I dearly loved, to maybe now an exponential of something like 40 people that I now have in my family. And they were all planning weddings and dinners and reunions. And I have my very own family. And I can't wait until next Thanksgiving.
Sweet story.
Oh, yay. Very nice, Claire.
It's a great story.
It just happened. It just happened. It's just like, oh my God.
Wow. What a journey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I just unmuted us all, so we all Claire can hear all of our. What a heartfelt story! So beautiful.
Love that.
Great.
It's going to be a big turkey.
All right. Well, we're coming down to our last, this is our last storyteller for the evening. It doesn't mean our evening is over, but our last swap teller, and that's Shefra Williams. And where are you? Let's see. So I am going to mute everyone. And then I'm going to search for you, Shefra. So just hold on. Here you are. I'm going to unmute you. And then we've spotlighted you. And before you start, I just need to acknowledge Shefra was responsible for getting us on our conference call last month to get us started on trying different ways to try to stay together during this pandemic and this shelter in place. So just super grateful and super excited to hear more of your stories. So let's sit back and enjoy hearing a story from Shefra.
Well, thank you, Liz. Probably maybe 25 years ago, I was keynoting a women's conference in Orange County, and I decided to sit in the audience before my time in order to get a feel of the audience. And as I'm sitting there, this is during a break time, a woman comes up to me and says, Shifra, and she mentions my last name, which was different. And she said, oh, I love that story you told at this other conference about this bird that, and before she could finish it, my heart began to beat. I caught my breath and I began to cry. Now I'm the keynote speaker. And I'm crying because this person, this is during break time, has said something to me, right? It was a moment of incredible vulnerability. It was a moment that I had not expected. And so this is the story that she reminded me that I had told a group. That was funny for her, but I was crying. So, kid does, right? And so as I'm looking for the skyscrapers, as my mother is looking in the window, we're window shopping, and she's looking at herself, getting a reflection of herself in the mirror, and I'm looking at nature, right? Because kids do that. Well, a bird did what birds do. It pooped on my face, just like that. My mother says, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, keep your head up, keep walking, keep walking. And I'm walking in downtown Oklahoma City with bird shit on my face. I have to keep walking because she didn't want to cause any attention. She didn't want to draw any attention in downtown Oklahoma City before even Topeka versus Brown, when segregation was illegal, right? She didn't want to cause any attention. To cause attention, anything could happen. And I had to keep walking with the stuff on my face. So I would share that story from time to time, and I have emotions about it as I tell it now. But when I told it in the past, it wasn't one of sadness, and people would laugh as I told that story. But Carl Jung says you don't become an adult until after 50. So after 50, that's when I was speaking. And I began to become vulnerable to the messages that I would give other people. They began to come back to me to change my life. So as an example, I was in Laguna Beach at Pacific Edge Gallery with my husband. My husband was Dutch and my children were all there. And that's significant because he thought that we were very different, but as we found out, he lived through the war, World War II. He was delivering messages in World War II to children. He saw kids with their heads cut off. All kinds of things happened as a child growing up in Holland. And there were things that the Dutch didn't speak about. But there were things that weren't spoken about in my family either. We had no idea that we were both hoarding stories about our past. And that came out over time in our relationship. But we're in downtown Laguna Beach at Pacific Edge Gallery. And there's this, I walk in and there's this great painting on the wall. It's huge. It's like 6 feet by 4. And it's a young girl, and she's looking through a garden, through a window at a garden. And the title of the painting is called Prayer. Her neck is raised. She's about 14, it looks. Her neck is so long and beautiful. And she has a purple frock, and she has sandals on, and her heels are bare. It's a painting by Maria Bertrand, a Venezuelan artist. I caught my breath. I start to cry. My husband was with me. The kids, are you okay? And I can't talk. The owner of Pacific Edge came and started to manipulate the lights because he was going to sell a painting that day. He would make them go up and go down, right? And I'm crying, and my husband's saying, oh, are you okay? And I go like, oh, I can't buy this painting, I can't buy this painting, right? A week later, it was on my bed. And I was pissed because my husband had moved into, I called it, my private emotions. That's how cut off I was, right, from myself. He died in 2004. And probably a month later, I had plantar fasciitis in my feet. And the doctor had prescribed, he said, you have to have surgery. If you don't have surgery, you're going to have these clunky shoes. That's what you have to have. Sorry, And so, and by the way, the painting is on the wall. It was on the wall in my house, a showcase painting. So a friend contacted me and she said, I have the stuff that you can use. I have these implements. I have some orthopedic shoes you could wear for now and maybe see how they could work. Maybe you don't have to, have surgery. I said, okay. So we arranged for her to bring me the shoes. And coming from that meeting with her, I opened the side door and walk from the kitchen, and there in the dining room is in the living room is this huge painting. I began to cry again. Took my breath away. Because I knew that the heel and the throat of that painting of that young girl represented vulnerability. And I cried, and I cried, and I wrote a poem about that. And my plantar fasciitis disappeared instantaneously after that poem and after that cry. So, I call myself a speaker, I call myself a storyteller, but in reality what's happening is I'm doing the work. I'm drilling down deep into my life as I share that life with you. I'm grateful for your attention this evening. Thank you.
Wonderful. Good.
Okay, everybody, you're unmuted. Thank you, Shepra. Sharing from the heart. Beautiful. Oh, look who's here.
Who is that?
Okay. Sally, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay, Sally. I'm
All
turning
right.
it back over to you.
Perfect.
I'm going to mute myself. I've got a phone call coming.
Thank you, everybody, for your lovely, lovely stories. I don't know quite how we can go around so that everybody can participate.
Find this whole screen.
But the story of Stone Soup, where seems like the soup is simply made of rocks, and then people began to put things in the soup that are edible, and suddenly the soup has a wonderful taste. So here we are with this soup. We call it a virus. And maybe we can go around and say, things that we would put in this soup to change its flavor. And quickly, I have found that gratitude has been a wonderful thing. And I'm grateful for your stories. I'm grateful for your coming. I'm grateful for your participation. And so I would put a big stone of gratitude in this soup. And stir it quite vigorously. Does anybody else have anything else to put in the soup?
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability. All right.
Patience.
Patience. Okay.
Patience.
Connection. I would put connection.
Yes. Lovely. Connection. All right.
Civility. More civility. When I go for walks, people are more civil to each other.
Aren't they though? Aren't they though? Such politeness from everybody. Yes.
Kindness.
Kindness. Absolutely. How about a little joy in there? Maybe. Yeah.
Laughter.
All right.
Fresh air.
What was that one?
Fresh air. Fresher air.
Yes, how beautiful our sky has been. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
I'd say
acceptance, lots more of acceptance of other people. And
Yes, yes.
What are we going to be like when we're no longer scared? What are we going to be like 5 years from now? We have really changed the way we view the world. Will we realize that we're not above nature, that the way we have dominated the living world, thinking only of ourselves? Will we come to realize that's a mistake?
We're running out of battery power.
Yeah, we're at the top of the food chain, but that doesn't mean we're in charge.
We have been in charge, and we really screwed up.
Quiet.
Quiet. Yes.
Quiet.
And Caesar, check your chat or your messages. I loved your stuff.
Thank you, Bobby. It's true, tranquility, but also appreciation of the moment, of just this moment that we are in now, and not worrying about future or past.
Right, right.
Oh, recognition of those who are those in medical and growing our food and processing it and bringing it to us, and those who are very lowly paid, but boy, are we beginning to realize how important they are.
Closest I can get it.
Yeah. Purchase up a little bit.
No, it's okay.
I'm more listening to the stories
Right, right.
than I am to the pictures. So
It's like a wider view of our connections. It's just really deep.
Realizing what really matters.
Yes.
When we can't have everything we're used to having. Realize what is most important.
Right, right. All right, good. Thank you so very, very much. And I think we can bring our little session to an end now. And, you know, I always go back to my Southern roots, right? And so here I am, and I have a little poem for you. And it's about, of course, the South. Let's see. The town, small and southern, leaned on the banks of the Calabasas River. Catfish swam over the muddy bottom. Buck teeth, and I can do that really well. Buck teeth and whiskered. The river waited by the dock, splashing the wooden hulls of the barges that were loaded with bales of cotton, the food of the textile town. The river had built that town. Its slow-moving current had turned the water wheels that turned the machinery that turned cotton into thread. And on the summer days, children, mainly mill kids, in rolled up overalls, would come and wade in that river, and brave souls who could swim would go out to the current and lie in that current and go downstream, perhaps to another shore. Old men would come to the river, and an old man came with a fishing pole in his hand and tobacco in his jaw. And he spit this brown arc into the water and cast, and up came a catfish hooked on tobacco. Good night. Be well.
I want to say that, thank you, Sally, for the storytellers. I hope you all see that people have been writing wonderful comments for you of how much they enjoyed your stories. So I will definitely stay on this call for a couple of minutes so that it stays open, so that you can scroll through this chat and see the lovely comments people gave you. So.
How do you scroll through the chat?
Okay, so you got to go down to the bottom and open chat. It's kind of right in the middle. It's a little
orange.
Oh, I see. There you go.
And so then you'll get a white box, usually on the right side.
Yes.
That says chat at the top. And if you just, you can use, well,
the slider at the
make
left.
it slide up and down. And
oh yeah.
So anyway, don't.
You can also save them. They can also be saved. See those three little dots?
Oh, is that how you save them?
Yeah, you go to those three little dots and press them. It says save chat.
Save chat. But I have a question. Do you have to send, or does it send by itself?
You have to press, I think you have to do something like
It
press
saved
return.
on my computer. It saved on my computer the last time I did it.
Well, I tried to send something to Ginger privately, but I don't know if it went.
See where everybody is in the dark blue and that little arrow, you push that and then you have a selection who to send it to.
I did that, but it doesn't, I don't know if it went. Ginger, did you get something from Agnes?
Whether Ginger responds.
Yeah, that's the next one.
Some people who were on the
Yeah,
call,
send it,
by the
but
way,
Ginger
are
may not
already
accept.
blocked. So
I don't know how to send. How do you send it?
Let's have an
Hit
official good night.
Return. Press the return.
Let's have an official good night and sign off to our swap, and then you can have this conversation.
Well, I want to thank you, Sally and Liz, and just thank you for putting this together, everyone that worked on it.
Yeah, it was so lovely to see all you and see all your faces. And
It's lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Where's Oliver?
God blesses everyone.
This was the best.
thank
you
you
for
for
great
all our
stories.
stories.
Everybody's story was great.
Nell's here from Norway.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Marianne.
And the Word Weavers is going to meet.
Nice to see you
And have her
again.
swap will be Delta Word Weavers on May 17th.
Yep, they're
So
dropping.
everybody come see us on May 17th.
May 17th.
Send an email, right?
Yeah, but I don't have all of these people.
No, you don't. You don't
Maybe
have
I could, if Liz or Sally, if I send it to you, then you could send it out to your group.
Probably, yeah.
Sure. And also, let me just give a plug. First of all, let
Okay.
me thank Shags.
Oh, yes, thanks,
And
Shags.
the board of the Storytelling Association of California.
And Liz, I can get you, Liz and Sally, I can get you their info.
Okay. But I also want to put in a plug that SAC, Storytelling Association of California, has a meetup group, meetup.com, and then you search for storytelling. It's Story Swaps, I think is what it's called. So all of our swaps are listed, all of Marion's swaps are listed, and other swaps. And since they're all virtual now, the ones that are happening, we can all go to all of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you
What a social life.
Only 3 so far. Only 3 so far. You can
Liz?
also go to our Facebook friends group page, and other people who are doing storytelling all over the world are posting events there. Which are
On
not
Facebook?
Say that again. Say that again.
our Facebook Storytelling Association of California Facebook friends. And if you are a subscriber to Meetup, I posted this on Meetup. Otherwise, I can send it to, since you can send it to everyone. So many ways to keep in touch.
How it's going to be when we're on Mars.
Virtual. Bill Harley is doing stuff. And if you've never seen Bill Harley, he makes your face hurt from laughing.
Oh.
Okay.
Bill Leff
Yeah,
is on Sunday
Saturday.
night. This coming Sunday night is Bill Leff.
Oh, Bill Leff, right.
Sunday night.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tall Tales.
What is it?
He's with Petaluma.
The one he did about his dog and the bear, the bear that lost its hair. So he had bare naked buck and buck naked bear. It was. I was dying. I'm telling you, this is too much fun. I should pay to be a part of this group.
That's okay. Send money.
Send money, yeah. I manage the money here. It's okay. We're doing okay.
Good.
Whoa.
That's why we have this for all of you. So thank you for being here.
Thank
you.
you. The stories were great. Every story was wonderful.
So
Hey,
wonderful
everybody.
to see one particular medium work so well in another way.
Yeah.
How do we get to the recorded part? You know, that you've recorded the session?
Recording,
Well, I've got that going on to my computer, and hopefully if I cut off, it won't screw up what the recording was, and I'll post it on Dropbox and let Liz know where it is.
Is Pernell still with us? Is Pernell still with us?
Pernilla. Oh, there she is.
Unmute, unmute,
Where?
Is it there?
unmute. All right, I'm trying.
Thank you so much for waking up in the middle of the morning and coming to see us and be with us.
Yes. Oh, it's so nice to see you again.
All
It's
right.
even nicer than I thought it would be.
Okay, lovely. Are you telling stories?
Yes, yes.
Good.
But not in the library now. It's closed. But yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing it on the internet.
Ah, good.
Are people using Zoom or something like Zoom in Norway to do this kind
They're
of?
using Zoom. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
We do.
Okay, a new world.
Pernille, will you come on May 17th to my group?
Yes. But
Okay, I'll get your email.
Yes, fine.
So your
Yes,
group
good.
is in the
I would love to.
afternoon, right?
Yeah, 2 o'clock Sunday,
So
May
that might mean he
17th.
really has to be up in the absolute middle of the night.
Oh, is that the middle of the
Or I
night
can
for you?
just stay awake. I had to get up at 4 today.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Great, great.
Oh.
Well, I'm signing off, so thank you
All
guys.
right.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Night all.
It was great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.